calor.
Sí, me imagino.
That is one small step for man, one giant leap for free software. Hello. My name is Mark Shuttleworth. And I am happy to be here on the 48th anniversary of the Software Libre conference in the year 2040. I'm afraid I didn't bring my own talk, so I'm going to have to use a talk done by a man named Maddog, who died in the Microsoft wars. The talk was about making money with free software. And if anybody should know something about that, I think it's me. Because I made plenty. And we're going to talk about that today. Could I have the first slide, please? Maybe we can lower some of these lights because it's really hot inside of this. Yes, that's good. Oh, I can help out. I think I can. Hold on. Technology. Now it's both on the screen and on the screen. There we go. Making and saving money with software by John Maddog Hall. Poor sucker. Now, if Maddog was alive, he would tell you that Linux is a trademark of Linus Torvalds. That was right before Linus made his several $billion off of Steve Ballmer. And that Unix is a trademark of XOpen, which shows that anybody can make a Unix system without using any source code from SCO. So, who am I, or actually, who was he, and why should you have listened to him if he was here, which he's not, because I'm Mark Shuttleworth. Well, in the year 29, Maddog would have had 40 years in the computer industry. He worked on very large mainframe computers, and he had been using Unix for almost 30 years at that point. And he had met Linus Torvalds in May of 1994, and he fell in love with Linux at the first sight. And he'd done a lot of things in the computer field, like being a programmer and a systems administrator and a systems engineer and all that type of stuff. And he worked with tiny, itsy-bitsy systems all the way up to supercomputers. But most importantly, he'd been both a vendor and a customer. Now, tipped over the water there, that wasn't good. In the very, very beginning of computers, back in the 1940s, they had really huge computers made with things called tubes and relays that maybe you don't even know what they are. And all of the software was created by hand. It was like making a coffee cup by hand. It wasn't mass-produced, it wasn't manufactured. It was made for you. And it was your software. And after you bought it, you owned the software, and you could do anything you wanted to with it. We didn't have computer science back in those days. It was computer black magic. It was like shooting a rocket to the moon using only a slide rule. Yeah. And we had punch cards in Fortran. That was all you needed. Unless you were doing business and used COBOL. But then, in the 1980s, the hardware was dropping in price. And people said, maybe we could manufacture software the same way we manufacture hardware. And then the software went downhill. But about the year 2007, the hardware was becoming incredibly cheap. And now was the time to go back in the other direction with the software. Now let me explain to you why this is important. When you manufacture something as a commodity, it means that 70 to 90% of the needs of the people are met by 70 to 80% of all the people in the world. Now when you multiply those two numbers together, 0.70 times 0.70, you get 0.49, meaning that half of the needs, or less than half the needs of the population is met. That's a very small number in reality. And people talk about manufactured software as commodity software. Well, let me tell you what a commodity is. It's a can of corn. You go into the store and there's a can of corn on the shelf. And there's another can of corn right next to it. And how long do you stand there figuring out whether you're going to buy that can of corn or that can of corn? That can of corn or that can of corn or that can of corn? If you stand there any more than about 5 seconds, the store manager comes along and throws you out because you're a kook. But on the other hand, a car is not a commodity. Although every car has a steering wheel and a gas pedal, some cars have a brake. Some cars have not in Buenos Aires. Cars don't seem to have brakes. And some cars have a clutch. But how many of you would take a suitcase full of money down to the car shop and say, "Give me any car on the parking lot"? You wouldn't do that because the car has to match your needs. It has to be big enough to hold your family. It has to get good gas mileage. A car is not a commodity. And so you spend a lot of time in looking to buy your car. And in the 40 years that Maddog was in the business of computers, not a single time did he ever see a commodity business problem. They were always different. And so how could you treat a commodity business problem with commodity software? Now, Wall Street and Microsoft loves commodity production software because it's a huge profit for low investment. And they can make billions and billions